So now we have this very large 9-op practice, very modern. And so right now they're averaging about 40 patients a month. Yeah, I met some marketing directors recently and they were overseeing like 35, 300. I was just blown away by how much one person was doing. Like, I don't know how you're doing it as well. So I oversee the new patient flow. I also oversee referral-based marketing for our specialty practice. We run education through there as well, so I oversee all of the education programming that happens. It's a very specific campaign because it really depends on what the story is. So if we're telling a story about a full arch patient who had a complete smile makeover and it like completely changed their life, that's being run through the specialty practice, and that's also trickling patients down into the referring practices as well for the restoration of it.
Welcome to another episode of Dental Marketing Go. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I am the CEO of SMC National, where we provide predictable new patient flow for offices just like yourself. And I live an awesome life because I get to talk to awesome people. And I got to today interview Ashley, who is the public relations and marketing director for an 8-location practice out of the Northeast. And she's facing very, very unique problems, and she shares how she's been tackling growing their offices, getting in front of more new patients, dealing with operational bandwidth issues, and how she actually gets her hands dirty with that. And she also shared how she got 30 people to show up for a job interview, which they hired several of them right there. I think it was 8 of them on the spot, which was just amazing. I've never heard anybody share that idea. So I'm excited for you to listen in on this, and you won't want to miss this episode. So thanks for tuning in. Also, Ashley has been an amazing contributor in not only our boot camp that we did, but also in our marketing community that we've started. She's been already answering people's questions. So she is a wealth of knowledge. You are going to enjoy today's episode. All right, Ashley, I'm super excited to have this conversation with you today. And I know it's going to bring a lot of value to everybody that's listening. So let's start, first of all, Ashley, let's start with how many practices are you guys currently at? And that you're managing right now from a marketing perspective? Sorry to disrupt the show, but I got something crazy to share with you. We are attempting to connect with all of our listeners. We have thousands of people that listen to this podcast, and we want to meet you in person. We have 4 events coming up, and I want to give you a discount code that you can use for the next week to save $300 off your ticket. The discount code is Gary Bird, and the link is going to be just down below. You can also go to smcnational.com/events. I hope to connect with you in person and help each other grow our businesses. Can't wait to see you soon.
Yeah, so we have 8 practices right now that we're overseeing. There's 5 different brands. So 4 of them are GPs, and one of them is a periodontal practice with 3 different locations.
Wow, so you're doing a little bit of everything in there, right? That's a wide range.
Yeah, yep, been doing a little bit of everything. So, and started with the perio practice. So I feel like I started with the hard stuff first.
You started with, that's what I always tell people, that's the hardest one. So that's good. So you started with the hard stuff and then you kind of work backwards. And how long have you been managing all the marketing for all 8 of the brands?
So it's kind of an interesting backstory, which kind of will help guide this. So I've been doing this for 7 years. So I was actually not in the dental industry previous to this. I was a preschool teacher for 11 years, recruited off the baseball fields. And that was by my owner of Shoreline Periodontics. And so that was where I started. And we were just a perio practice at that point. And then right around 2020, right before, all shit hit the fan, we actually were like, okay, let's help be the solution to some of what we were seeing in our region, and let's start to take on some of our retiring doctors and help out our referral practices and pull them into our family of practices. So that was kind of the beginning of Resolute. And so that has been about 3 years now that we've been doing that.
That's awesome. And then roughly, how many new patients a month are you guys seeing between all your practices?
That's a really great question. So, so it's interesting because we have a couple of things happening in our practices, right? So We have one brand that we just did an entire build out for because their whole office was just very dated and just it was constantly falling apart. We were literally like duct taping and holding it together with luck by the end. Please just hold up. So now we have this very large 9 op practice, very modern. And so right now they're averaging about 40 patients a month in there. And they're still in the growth phase. So we're starting to tier out their growth plan now to kind of figure out, okay, so where are we headed and what is our timeline and what can the team realistically take on, right? Because you have to
Yeah.
have your systems in place and you have to have your team
You
prepared
can't just
for
dump
all of that
150
marketing.
new patients in there. Yeah, they're not ready for that.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody has to answer those phone calls and follow up on those leads, and if they don't know how, they can't. So, yeah.
Okay. So that office is getting about 40. And then what about your other offices?
So that office is 40, and then we have the specialty office, which they're seeing about 40 to 50 in their main location, and then the satellite locations are seeing about 25. And then the other practices are pretty much averaging out. The smaller practices are about 20 new patients a month. And then we have another large practice, which sees about 30 to 35. It's a
Perfect.
pretty well established practice. So it's really
Perfect.
nice. We've had a lot of established practices come on to our
Which,
family. So
which is huge. Yeah, that makes a huge difference. And do you know like your marketing to patient referral mix? Do you guys track that?
So it's something that we've just started tracking. So I know for our specialty practice, our mix right now is about 20% marketing and then 80% is referral based. And
Is that
then
doctor
our,
referrals? Mainly doctor
yeah,
referrals?
yep,
Yeah, cool.
doctor referrals. And then our other practices are it's about a 50-50 mix right now.
Which is healthy. That's a healthy, like, things are healthy. You don't never want that mix to go too far one way or the other, because then it creates difficulty. So it sounds like you're doing a good job with not only on making sure that you're bringing in the marketing patients, but you're also keeping them, right? Because you're getting back patient referrals. So that's
Yeah.
huge. And then, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, our retention rate has been really great. And honestly, it's been such a huge win just because, like, strategically and operationally, it takes a team to get there. And it's not just, me being like, all right, let's just put patients in this practice. I see holes in doctor schedules. It's us meeting operationally and being like, okay, like this doctor needs some support with new patients. What's our capacity? So I am so grateful for the full team that we have that helps handle this.
Yeah, that's huge. So how big is how big is your marketing team? Are you it, or is there other people supporting you kind of in the marketing side?
So I am it for marketing
Okay.
right now. And then we have like an eight
Which is
person
totally
strategic team.
normal. Which is totally normal in the dental industry.
Yes.
Like, one marketing person teams are everywhere.
Yeah. I met some marketing directors recently and they were overseeing like 35, 300. I was just blown away by how much one person was doing. Like, I don't know how you're doing it. That's wild, but good for you.
Yeah. So it's just so your main job, and then what are your like main responsibilities? Is it just new patient flow, or are you managing other things as well?
So I'm managing other things as well. So I oversee the new patient flow. I also oversee referral-based marketing for our specialty practice. We run education through there as well. So I oversee all of the education programming that happens. Um, and then reputation management, social media, all the fun marketing stuff that we have going on.
Yeah. And so you're
Yeah,
managing the DSO marketing as well, right? Like the
yep,
reputation of the DSO, which is different
yep.
because nobody ever calls this out. But when you go from marketing a practice, you're doing a B2C, and then you move up to the
hmm
DSO. Now it's B2B because you're only marketing to other dental offices or dentists. So it's a two different kinds of marketing going on there.
Yeah, and you know what? It's been interesting. It's so different. It's kind of been this little dance that we've had going on, right? Because DSO is like a dirty word, and you
Hmm.
don't want to talk about that in the community. And so we've kind of had this little dance that we've had to do of like, when is the right time to talk about what we do? we don't
Well,
really consider
marketing's a dirty
ourselves.
word in dental too. So is sales.
It
Sales is
really
a dirty word.
is.
Marketing's a dirty word. DSO is a dirty word. Like everything, like
You could have
it's
a whole
kind of hard to have
podcast
a
on dirty
business.
words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's such a good idea. Yeah, we'll just title this one "Dirty Words in Dental," and it's like, those basic business tenets. Um, okay, so now what are you doing right now that's actually really working? That you're just like, man, I'm doing this over and over and over again, and it's really helping our offices get the new patients that we want.
Yeah. So what's really been working for us is, working as a strategic team and really looking at our metrics, looking at where is our opportunity, what are some of our obstacles, and how can I get past those obstacles? How can we prep the team for that? So some of the things that we've done is we've been talking about different scheduling strategies that we can use.
Mm,
In Connecticut, it's interesting because we are very, very limited. There's a lot of things that assistants can't do. Hygienists can't touch lasers. Assistants can't do any sort of exams or anything like that. So we're very limited. So just kind of strategizing on, how can we maximize the assistant's abilities to support that dentist to do things like a patient screening, to lay it up so that the dentist can come in for just a quick exam and a quick, meet with the patient and create that rapport with the patient. And so that has actually been working a little bit. And I mean, it's been a challenge for sure. But
are your struggles more marketing? Like, hey, we need to get more patients into the door, or has it been more operational, where it's we need to create more room for the patients we're already driving, or is it kind of a mix because of all the different
it
offices?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix because of all of the different offices and the different challenges that they have. So, for example, so like our new build out right now, we have an operational challenge where we know that we can get new patients in there, but also we need more hygienists in there to see those patients. And also, we need to figure out what exactly is the scheduling strategy for those patients to get in there.
Got
And
it.
also who's following up on those leads, because
Mm.
I can pull that lever so easily, but if there's nobody to
So
answer
let's
that
so
phone,
let's
it's just throw.
yeah, and yeah, it's just a waste of money and it's crazy. So let's play a game then. Okay, so I wave a magic wand, and this magic wand, what it does is it actually goes into all of your offices. It optimizes them to full everything. So it has each of them have the maximum amount of doctors that you could want there. Each of them has 10, 15 open slots every single day for new patients to come in. You have all the equipment that you need, and the hygienists and dental assistants and front desk to answer the phone. They're all trained too, right? This magic wand just trains them all too, right? So let's say you
Mhm.
have that. What's your go-to to get everything off the ground? Like once that magic wand is waved.
So once that magic wand is waved, my go-to to get that off of the ground is to well, I mean, I have to find the patients, right? So I have the avatar, I have my buyer persona. So now I'm going to hit go. I'm going to do some Facebook marketing, some social media marketing on Facebook for lead generation. I'm going to work with my marketing company to do some PPC campaigns and push that across to the right
So
people.
lots of paid ads, right? Like
Lots
right out
of
of the
paid
box.
ads.
Hmm.
Yep, lots of paid ads. But also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also use the stories of the patients that we have already in the practice to reach the other patients that they are in the same boat. The power
Got it.
of storytelling is huge,
Yes.
so
Yep.
huge.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and so how would you run those ads? Would you run those ads like on social media, and would you be doing that on the specialty side, GP, or a little bit of both? What kind of how would you execute on that side?
Yeah, so I would kind of hit it from both ends. I would do some social media pushes, absolutely 100%, because that's really where you're going to get a lot of your traction. But also, pushing some YouTube ads would be is great too.
That's
I
awesome. That's really good.
apologize.
No, that's really good. I know you've never been put in this position before, so I know this is
No,
a
no,
unique thing when it's like,
I'm like
go ahead.
fangirling a little bit too, so I'm like trying to get past that.
Oh, you're totally good. You're doing great. So,
Uh,
okay, so I totally agree with that. And so now do you? and that we would use a very similar strategy, right? Like if I was sitting in your seat, I'd use the same similar strategy. Now, do you know the output that you would be expecting from that? Like, what would you go and tell the doctor? Like, hey, cost per acquisition, we're going to get in the door now is somewhere in this range. Do you know that for Connecticut?
Yeah, I mean, so my goal is 100, so that's usually we land between like 100 and 150.
That's really
When
good.
we're doing storytelling, it usually ends up being closer to the $100 range just because it connects with people more. And it's a very specific campaign because it really depends on what the story is. So if we're telling a story about a full arch patient who had a complete smile makeover and it like completely changed their life, that's being run through the specialty practice. And that's also trickling patients down into the referring practices as well for the restoration of it.
That's so cool. So and that
Yeah.
that is so spot on too. And so so how do you guys calculate that? Are you counting all patients when you calculate your cost per, because that's pretty, like, honestly, that's pretty low, like for especially for what you guys are doing. So is that all new patients divided by marketing budget, or are you weeding out the patient referrals and that's what you're seeing?
I'm weeding out the patient referrals when I'm running those numbers. I think it's really,
Dude,
really
you're
important to
crushing
do
it.
that.
Yeah, it's a lot of
You
work to
think
do
so?
that, but yeah, no, you're crushing it. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh,
So
oh, I'm
anything,
crushing it. Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
you're crushing.
Yes,
No, you're
yes.
crushing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really, really
Thank
good.
you.
I,
Yeah.
I I would expect that number to go up as you scale, right? Like, so as like if you're going from 50 new patients and then you're like, stink, I got to double it. I got to go to 100. I'd expect that number to go up. But also I bet you you're doing, so you must be doing really good on the phone conversion and also on unanswered call rate. Like you're probably answering all your calls at that price point and you're converting most people who call, correct?
Yeah, my team is just like I feel bad for them sometimes. They're just killing themselves trying to answer phones because they just that's just what they want to do. They want to make sure that no call is left unanswered. So yeah, our phone conversion rate is really high and so is the answer rate. Like we're definitely in the 80-90%.
That's really good. That's amazing. Yeah. So if you are answering, I had one person one time tell me we answer 100% of all of our calls, and I was like, bro, you do
I
not answer
wish.
every single call. And they were like, no, we do, I promise. And I was like, there's no way. Like there's just no way. You don't have enough bandwidth. Even if you're huge, you're going to miss calls. So being up in the, when you get up in the 90% up and above that, I mean, you're doing really, really good at answering your calls. And then if you're converting them, then I could see how you can get into that $150 range. And then how are you doing as far as when these patients come back, and you're recaring and you're, or actually let's focus on the specialty. When you're getting the specialty in, how many patients are you having to get in before someone says yes, I want to buy treatment? Do you know that number?
So if it's a full arch patient, it's around 30%.
Okay.
If
So
it's like just a simple implant or a couple of implants, that percentage is higher. It's usually like around 40 or 50% of treatment acceptance. But yeah, the
good.
full arch, I mean, and obviously it's a much more expensive and complex, treatment. So
And then who owns the lead nurturing process for those for your office? Is that you or is that someone else?
So I own the lead nurturing portion of it, and then we have people in that are in the scheduling coordinating realm that help to get those patients scheduled and follow up on those leads in the individual practices, and then
So
I
are
just
you
kind of
calling the
support
actual
them.
patients too, or are you just kind of overseeing making sure that people are doing it?
So I oversee that the people are doing it, but there are times where I get pulled into the trenches with them and I support them and I'll make the phone calls too.
Ashley, oh my soul. That's you do a lot. That is a lot. So
It's
what's
growth.
your
It's growth.
average?
It's growth.
It is. Well, it helps you learn too, right? It helps you realize what you're actually facing out there. I've learned more from listening to dental calls than just about anywhere else because I'm like, oh, this is how patients actually ask that question. Here's what they're actually frustrated with. So that it's a huge opportunity to learn. And then okay, so when you are helping them nurture these leads in, do you know how much time you're spending per day lead nurturing when you add everybody's time up for full arch?
For full arch, yeah, so nurturing those leads when we actually get the patient on the phone for the first time, um, it's usually around a 5 to 10-minute conversation.
Okay.
It it's
And then how
it's
many
a little
times
bit
a day are you
tougher.
doing that? Oh, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot tougher. How many times a day are you having to nurture leads? Like here's what we've found: for every $5,000 on marketing, there's about two
Mhm.
hours of lead nurturing a day.
Oh, I wish. There's a
You
lot
have more
longer
than
than
that?
2. Yeah, there's a lot longer than 2 hours of lead nurturing a day because 'cause we're following up on the ones that didn't answer the first time too, so it just kind
Mm,
of is like a buildup, you know?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and you got to stay on top of it. If you don't stay on top of it, none of your marketing works. That's what we've found.
absolutely, then you start having holes in your bleeding places, and yeah, I mean, you definitely have to figure that out.
Now you have a background too in public relations. Is that right?
Mhm. Yep, I do, I do.
How is that? And I don't know a lot about public relations because I kind of grew up in industries that didn't really use PR. And so how has that helped you in the dental space?
So I'm not like the traditional public relations person who would kind of like formulate all of these responses and stuff ahead of time. Although it is a little bit of what I do is just to make sure that the team is prepared. If there's like a disgruntled patient that comes through, I help them guide them through that. But some of what I do from a public relations standpoint is I've helped the teams create a social responsibility plan. So when I first came into Shoreline, I found that we had this really cool program, right? Where we had all of these gold crowns from patients who had to have their gold crown extracted. And so what we would do is we would donate the money from that to a local charity. But nobody was talking about it. Nobody was sharing this with the patients. It was just kind of something that they did. So what we did was we formalized that and we created this really cool Hearts of Gold program where
Hmm.
we collect all of those gold crowns. We encourage our referral offices to also donate their gold crowns to the cause. And then our team matches everything that comes in up to $10,000. And then we donate it to the local United Way to help support
Oh,
our community.
that's so cool. And so you
Yeah.
kind of helped spin that all up. Is that right?
Yep, yep, yeah, so I helped them spin that all up and, to just, like, looking at what they were already doing and being like, Why aren't we talking about this with more people? Like, this is really, really cool what you guys do, and you're not even sharing it, like, it's wild."
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really good. And where do you see, like, over the next 5 years, where do you see your group going and how do you see your job evolving?
So I think that over the next few years, the group is going to continue to bring on other practices in our local region to support our retiring community. Um, and so I think my position is going to start being more strategic, more overseeing things and trying to figure out, all right, like we have this obstacle for marketing. So let's pull this lever so that we can get
Hmm.
these patients in here. Let's do this type of campaign so that we can, maximize this. So I think that's really where my position is going. Um, but also, I know that I'll never fully remove myself from any sort of personal touch with like the different teams and like some of the social responsibility stuff. Like I just love that stuff. And honestly, I feel like that's the heart of what we do at Resolute too, is we are people. Like we just
Yeah, yeah.
love our people and we love being in touch with them.
That's so cool. And I love that. There's certain parts that I just love connecting with people, and I just can't ever see not doing that in some way. So I totally get what you're saying there. Now, so as that happens, so you start to become more just strategic, and kind of, I'm going to play another game with you. Like you get this lump of money, right? So they're like, look, we got all this capacity. You've driven all these new patients, so now there's this extra money for us to play with in the marketing department. What things would you bring in house, and which things it's for you to manage so you can hire people, or and which things would you say, you know what, I'd rather keep those external because I think it's better having those managed external.
Yeah, so I would definitely bring in more of a graphic design and creative person who can handle things like the social media, get us more into places like TikTok, get us relevant content that just is constantly streaming. That's definitely been a challenge with being in so many different aspects of
So hard.
all of the practices. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is definitely something that I would
So
bring
how
in
would you do?
house.
So how would you do that? Would you make them the face? Because a lot of times doctors, here's the thing that nobody ever talks about. They go, get on TikTok, and it's like, okay, someone has to be the face, and then you go to the doctors, and the doctors are like, I don't want to do it. So you're like, hygienist, do you want to do it? And they're like, no, I'm busy cleaning teeth. I don't want to be on TikTok. So usually it's like the marketing person that has to put their face on there. How do you how would you finagle that?
Yeah, it's funny because we have this conversation all of the time. I'm like, Dr. Chobak, like, if you want to do this, you should be the face of this. Like, it should be you. And he's always like, no, no, it's not me. It's not me. Um, so to face that, what we've ended up doing is we've actually brought our teams in and had the different teams creating content for TikTok. We actually did it with a job fair recently where we needed to hire a bunch of people very, very quickly. And so what we ended up doing was we had all the teams create like these different types of TikToks, and then we pushed them all out there with the messaging about the job fair. And we're like, hey, like, check out our culture. Like, we're really cool people. Like, it's not just dentistry. Like,
So you're gonna,
come,
you were
come,
doing
come
using this
talk.
more for like B2B then, like recruiting, and that's huge. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a much
Yeah.
much different beast, but those are the kind of things that are needed to tackle that. Did that work well for you?
Oh, it worked really well for us. We had like 30 people show up, and then I think out of 30 we hired about 8 to 10 people, and then we trained them all up. Oh, it was fantastic.
Wow, I bet you're going to get the most question when people watch this. That's where the people are going to ask the most questions right there, because that's like the holy grail, and it's really hard to do. Even big groups with lots of resources have struggled with that. So last question for you. So we're sitting in a room, and it has all the marketers in the world, all the dental marketers. You have every dental marketer is in that room, and they're trying to like figure out how to either grow in their career or to do a better job. What's one piece of advice that you'd say, hey, here's the main thing to focus on, that you would tell them?
So, first of all, if you're thinking that that's not the position for you, it probably is a position, and you're definitely feeling the pain of growth. So, it's really important to just keep pushing through. And then find other people that are in that realm. Find other dental marketers, connect with them, because I guarantee that you're not alone. They're feeling these pains too. They've probably felt these pains. They probably have some solutions that worked for them that they would be willing to share with you as well. So just find your people, connect with them, network, and don't be afraid to share, information. Just because we're marketers doesn't mean we have to gatekeep everything. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Marketers are famous for gatekeeping. Just I used to be that way. I used to think like I can't share my secret sauce, and then I realized like it doesn't matter. Like a lot of people are doing 80% of what I'm doing anyways, and I can provide value to me to them, and vice versa. So that is such great advice. Well, I really really appreciate you coming on. I know it's late there in Connecticut, and I just loved our conversation today. So thank you so much.